Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a single 40-minute phone call. A call that happened at a moment of, well, some really intense global tension. And let me tell you, this was not just two leaders catching up. This was high-stakes diplomacy happening right on the edge of a major crisis.
So, what was the backdrop for this call? Imagine this, a war of brinkmanship, as it was described, brewing in the Persian Gulf. The threat of a naval conflict wasn't just a possibility, it felt very, very real, and it had the potential to send shockwaves through the entire global economy.
And the call itself? It lasted a full 40 minutes. Now, in the world of diplomacy, that's a long time. It's not just a, hey, how's it going kind of call. Diplomats would call that substantive. It tells you there was a massive agenda that US President Trump and Indian Prime Minister Modi had to get through. So what on earth were they talking about?
Well, the first thing, and you gotta believe the most urgent thing on the list, was that escalating conflict between the United States and Iran, and it was all focused on one of the most strategically important places on the entire planet.
This right here is the Strait of Hormuz. I want you to think of it as a vital artery for the world's energy. Sources say something like a fifth of all the world's oil passes through this narrow channel every single day. So an able blockade here? One source even called it a double chokehold. It doesn't just mess with the region, it puts the whole global economy at serious risk.
And this right here spells out the domino effect. A blockade means global oil prices would just skyrocket. That, in turn, kicks off inflation. And it puts this massive strain on manufacturing sectors all over the world that rely on that energy. You can see why a direct briefing between these two leaders was so critical.
But here's where things get really interesting. With tensions boiling over, President Trump didn't just give his counterpart a heads up, he actually opened the door for India to step onto the world stage in a huge way.
This was the official line coming from the US ambassador at the time. It's about as clear as it gets, right? It's a public invitation for allies, like India, to get involved to help cool things down and find a way out of this peacefully.
And that, of course, was the billion-dollar question that got put directly to the ambassador. The U.S. is extending a hand, so is India going to take on this huge role as a mediator in one of the planet's most volatile conflicts?
You know, the ambassador's answer here was just a masterclass in diplomacy. He basically said, look, the U.S. would love for India to be involved, but the decision, the power to actually step into that role, that was put firmly and squarely in India's courts.
But okay, this call wasn't just crisis management, not by a long shot. They also got into what you'd call the big-ticket items, the major deals that are really the backbone of the whole US-India strategic relationship.
And wow, this really shows you just how deep that partnership runs. We're talking about a massive trade agreement that was described as essentially wrapped up. We're talking about India getting its hands on advanced Predator drones, specifically the Sky and Sea Guardian versions, and even potential military cooperation like getting training assistance from the US Air Force. These are absolutely huge pillars for the relationship moving forward.
So this 40-minute call, it wasn't just about solving the problems of today. It was also about laying the groundwork, setting the stage for the future of this really critical relationship.
And you can actually see that groundwork taking shape on the calendar. A visit to India by the U.S. Secretary of State was already locked in for the next month. But maybe even bigger, the possibility of President Trump himself visiting India was now officially on the table. That's a big deal.
And according to the U.S. ambassador, the call actually ended on a really personal and warm note. Prime Minister Modi apparently told President Trump that he's seen very positively in India, which really speaks to the close personal chemistry between these two leaders.
And that leaves us with the key question, doesn't it? In this world of constantly shifting alliances and complex politics, how much does that personal chemistry between leaders really matter? Can a warm exchange on a 40-minute phone call actually cement a strategic partnership for years to come? It's definitely something to think about.